Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, a hearty good morning to all of you. Welcome to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, Emerging INV, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. You can reach them at emerginginv.com and by the Jeeves Law Group.com, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Well, the roughing the passer penalties continue to get worse in the NFL after last night's Chiefs-Raiders game. I didn't think it could get worse than what we saw on Sunday, but it did. It's the NFL. Maybe they want it that way. Who knows? Because everybody's talking about it, right? Welcome into the JP Peterson Show. We appreciate you guys watching each and every morning. I'll say good morning to my good friend Nick Geddes here from Outsider.com. Watch any of that game last night? Chiefs-Raiders.
I tuned into the late in the third quarter. I was actually not watching the game, and I tuned in because it looked like it was a good one, and I did see
the Raiders jumped out 17-6.
Yes, I did see the play in question. I thought the Brady one was bad at first.
Was worse?
No. This one was worse. If it somehow could get worse than the Brady one, we found it last night. These refs are official. They are shockingly bad this year.
It's unbelievable.
Shockingly bad.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't even say they're bad because in the rule book, they're calling it correctly.
And that's what we're going to get into today. That's what we're going to get into. It kind of dovetails with some discussions that we've had over the offseason and this season about, who are the officials and does the NFL need to remake how they officiate games? I would say without question, that's a very loud yes. No question about it. All right, first let's set up the show for you. We got an absolute legendary guest list today. Tampa Bay media legends joining the show today. Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report will join us at 10:30 as he does each and every Tuesday. We'll rehash a little bit of the Bucs-Falcons game and look ahead to this week's matchup against Pittsburgh. Erik Erlendsson, free of the chains, will now be able to join us and talk some hockey. So Double E's will join us. I've been working with Double E since 2004, certainly back when the Lightning made their first cup run. And it's great to have him back on our show, being able to come on, and hopefully we'll be having him on multiple times as we go through this hockey season because the Lightning open up tonight. Did you know it's opening night in the NHL?
No, I didn't know.
I'm sure the rights holder of hockey has promoted it far and wide, or not. I mean, ESPN. We always thought it was going to be great that ESPN got hockey back because as much as I may hate it and many others, they are still kind of the gold standard as for sports broadcasting, worldwide. They are the worldwide sports leader, just in terms of content and the massive amount of viewers that they get. That said, this may be a net loss because they are burying hockey and not promoting it in their shows and not talking about it. They probably do 10-1 in terms of time talking about sports, NBA, NFL to hockey. Not saying it needs to be 10-10, not saying it needs to be even, but it's just bad. So whatever. They'll be on ESPN tonight. We won't be able to hear Dave Randorf and our guys, but we'll be able to watch ESPN. And the ESPN announcers, we like them. We like Steve Levy. We like Barry Melrose. We just wish they got more airtime.
I wish there was some more marketing from this sport. I mean, you poll like everybody that lives in America that's a sports fan. They probably couldn't pick Connor McDavid out of a lineup.
Yeah.
They couldn't pick Austin Matthews out of a lineup.
Nope.
Probably not even Crosby or Ovechkin, who have been on top of the game for 15 years now.
I would dare to say that those guys are bigger stars back in their home countries. Some of these foreign players, even those players, just the stars of the NHL 100%. Are probably more well known in Sweden and
Ovechkin's
the
biggest star in Russia. He kind of runs things over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some respects,
not everything.
In some respects,
maybe you should. It's.
I don't know, but
I don't think it's going. I think if you ask Gary Bettman. And you can see when he does his appearances on ESPN,
which are weird.
He's always needling them. He's always taking a little shot. We're not talking NBA today.
I mean, they can't even cover baseball. You think they're going to cover hockey?
Yeah.
You can't ask for much. But that being said,
are the baseball playoffs still going?
I don't know.
When did they start back up? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad Aaron Judge took up
I'm
most of Tom Brady's podcast last night, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know.
Really needed to hear that.
I'm a little scarred from what I watched the other night. I can't get back into baseball.
Yeah.
I'm probably shutting down for the season here. Or we could just become honorary Braves fans for this run. That's what I'm doing.
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
You know what? They're the only
I kind of like that.
They're the only Southern team, excluding the Astros, and we're not rooting for the damn Astros. So the Braves are likable. They sign all their stars to good deals like they did yesterday with one of their best young pitchers. And they're only, just a little drive up I-75. Let's just be Braves fans right now.
Let me throw this out to you and to you guys out there, because I'd love to get some back on this, because we could do this. We could definitely do this. If the Braves make a run, so maybe not this round, but if they survive this round and get to the NL Championship Series, how about we go up there and do a show from the Battery? And we do a whole expose on this, how the Braves Stadium came to be, how financially successful it is at the Battery, how it's helped them win a World Series, how they were able to afford Charlie Morton and we weren't. How about we do a whole series, do a show or a couple of shows from Braves land and really show the people what we could have here, and really underscore the impediment of Stu Sternberg. That's not a bad idea. What do you think? What do you guys think? Would you like to see us go up there and do a couple shows from the Battery? I think that would be a great chance to. I'm shocked that no TV station has done that here locally. I mean, that would be a great, sit down and talk to the Braves and talk to the people, because I've got great connections up there. We could get their general manager on, we could get their president on and come talk to us. Because listen, all these other teams have a vested interest in the Rays building a stadium here. It makes them more money. And why not just go experience that template firsthand in the playoffs and get a feel for what that's all about, and bring that story home to Tampa Bay and get people really fired up about what we could have if it weren't for our beloved quotation marks owner. We find out where he shot. Where does he get his subs? Let's do another story on that, besides asking him about the $500 million that's in another bank account. But I digress. I think that's a good idea. Thanks for your input on that. I appreciate that.
There you go.
Yeah, that was good. Good discussion on that. All right, so we have to acknowledge that it is obviously opening night for the Lightning. Erik Erlendsson is going to join us. We'll get much more into the lineups and what's going to be different this year. Suffice to say that this blue line is going to be very, very different. Very, very different. The departure of Ryan McDonough, the suspension of Ian Cole, which came out of nowhere. Obviously, I think the Lightning were right to do what they did, but that is indefinite. How long is that going to last? Hayden Fleury is going to have to step up and be that left shot defenseman to fill in there. So, obviously you lose a lot of experience on the blue line right there. That's not good. I'm not, it's not a killer, it's just not a Ryan Jensen injury, but it's, it affects the plans that the Lightning had. So they're going to have to on the fly do a little bit of change here. And I think this defense as a whole is going to look very, very different. And Sergachev is going to have to step up into that Ryan McDonough role and be better in a lot of different ways. His game has to mature even a little bit more, and we'll see if he's to it. To me, that's the big question. And also, how you replace Andre Palat, although Vladdy looked pretty good on Saturday with 3 goals and a hat trick.
Yeah, he did.
So I'm like, we're going to miss you, Pally. No doubt about it. But, Vladdy looks nice there.
Yeah. And also, to Anthony Cirelli, you're going to be without him for the first month and a half of the season. So your depth is going to get tested. And part of this is what comes with the territory. When you win Stanley Cups and you go to Stanley Cups like the Lightning, the farm gets a little thin. And the farm right now is as thin as it's ever been, I think, for the Lightning. They're ranked at the bottom of the league, 32nd in the league in farm system rankings right now, which we'll take that because you're winning. And they still have a roster that I think is capable of doing that. But I'm interested to see which of these young guys, what we're going to get. Kepke, he might get a crack into the starting lineup early on. You mentioned Myers, who didn't really work out in Nashville, but the Lightning, they see something there. The Ian Cole situation, we got into it a little bit the other night. And obviously, the investigation's ongoing. It seems like regardless of what happens, it's going to be hard to really factor him into anything. So you have to just act like that's over with at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we talk about this. What franchise gets the best out of their players? And what franchise does the best with finding guys to plug and play? And that's the Lightning. And Vlad Namestnikov's a great example. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds his way to the top line at some point this season with Kucherov, because before the Lightning traded him, he was on a near 70-point pace that year, playing on that top line with Nikita Kucherov. And those guys are brothers, man.
Yeah, they really are. According to the Lightning website right now, they have the projected lineup as Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, Brandon Hagel, Nick Paul, and Alex Killorn, Cole Koepke, Vladdy, and Ross Colton on the third line, Maroon, Eduard Bellemare, and Corey Perry on the school bus line stays the same. So yeah, I would expect that. But I do think that Vlad could definitely make an appearance, and this is all a very fluid situation. The defensive pairings: Victor Hedman and Cal Foote at the top, Mikhail Sergachev, Erik Chernak. Strong. I mean, that's as good as a second pairing as you'll find in the league right there. Hayden Fleury and Philippe Myers as the third. I mean, it's very new.
Yeah,
it's very new.
The third pairing, two guys coming in who don't have a lot of NHL experience under their belt, and even a guy like Cal Foote. I mean, Victor Hedman should just win the Norris every year because he never has an elite guy next to him.
Yeah.
They always put that young guy or like a guy like Ruda, like a good foil for him, and somebody that can kind of stay back so he can push up. But again, it just shows the great. Like, I bet Cal Foote has by far his best season and take some steps this year playing with Hedman.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So this is going to be interesting, but this is a very, very different group. And I don't think we can undersell Derek Lalonde, missing from the coaching staff. The coaching staff is going to be remade again. So there's a lot of newness to this Lightning team. But the bottom line is the core remains the same. And getting Cirelli back in there at some point will be better. And they'll, you obviously know that they'll be able to make some moves at the deadline, and they'll bring in, I think especially this year, you're going to see them bring in some real experience on the blue line at the deadline. So, thing about hockey is it's a marathon, just like the baseball season and even all these seasons, they're marathons, they're not sprints. But I think hockey, especially the regular season, hockey and the NBA, the regular season it's almost meaningless. I hate to say that, but it's, if you're a good team like the Lightning, playoff position we've seen really doesn't mean much. Playoff seeding doesn't mean much in the postseason. You'd always like to have a game 7 at home, but for the most part, the Lightning have done it every which way to win cups. So it's just a matter of being able to play your best hockey late in the season, be healthy, and go into the playoffs with some momentum.
Yeah.
And so right now, I think, for John Cooper's, let's throw Fleury and Myers and Koepke and all these guys out there and see what they got. And it'll be a work in progress.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my message to Lightning fans is don't get your hopes up in the first, probably until 2023 till the calendar rolls over, I think it's going to take, this is a truly unique season for the Lightning that they haven't had in a long time. You look at that roster, who's new there? It's Namestnikov and Koepke. Like, you're not really adding in the guys that you're adding in. I mean, Namestnikov has played a lot of NHL hockey, but not I don't want to say proven player, if that's the right word, because he proved it with the Lightning and he wasn't great everywhere else. But you're adding in young guys instead of adding in a lot of veterans to this roster, especially on the back end. We just mentioned the youth right there and 3 of the 6. So I could see a situation where the Lightning are slow out of the gate, kind of how they were in 2019, 2020, if you recall. First 2-3 months, they had trouble, and then they went on that road trip in Sweden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And turned it around. I think they're going to have a similar kind of format to that, and it's going to take some time to get this going, but you shouldn't worry because, as we said with this team, and they know it too, Stamkos has said it, they don't even hide from saying anymore. We just need to get in. We just need to get in, and then we can go. So don't be expecting the Lightning to have 110 points this year. I'm not expecting them to win the Atlantic Division or anything like that. I'm not.
Yeah, and this to me, it's almost like a preseason. This next 2 months is almost like a preseason. You want to see what these young guys can do, see how the chemistry is coming together, but you also, and I think Cooper said this yesterday or before they left, is it's so much easier to get off to a good start and kind of roll through it, and be in the playoffs, be in the number 1, 2 seed, be in the top of your division. I mean, it means you're playing well, you're confident, a couple of years ago, they got off to such a bad start, and it becomes a grind then in March and April to get, to if you're on that cusp of not making the playoffs, then you expend so much energy trying to get into the playoffs. You don't want to do that. You want to have a nice pad as you get into the final month of the season. So if you need to rest some players, you can rest some players, because it's all about being ready for the postseason. So I'm very excited about this year. Obviously, I'm going to be doing my gig with the Lightning. We got a lot of new toys over there. We don't have the home opener until next week against the Flyers on Tuesday night. So the Lightning will be on the road here this week, and then be back home next week. And I'll be doing some more post. I think I'm doing the post game radio show as well at Cigar City. At least I've been told that's my new gig. So I'll be there for the I used to be able to leave after the second intermission to be home, be home and watch the last part of the third period with Tally. But I'm going to be sticking around. And
long nights now.
It's it. Yeah. You have to watch hockey. You get paid
good.
for it.
None of this is work, folks.
No, sitting in a Cigar City beer house talking hockey with Brian Engblom. Yeah, it's all good. So looking forward to that and a great Lightning season. And I've seen people say that their window is closed.
No,
I mean, it's just ridiculousness. No. That's just ridiculousnse. That's usually coming from the Canadian media that are just so tired of talking about the Lightning. Bottom line is, Brisebois has set this team up for a long run. They've got the core together for a long, long time. So
that's what
they're not going anywhere.
That's why I said Toronto may
We're not effing leaving. We're not effing leaving.
Toronto may very well put up 120 points this year and kind of has some historic regular season. But exactly, we're not worried. We ain't worrying. And that's where the media will come in and start pushing those narratives. But again.
Jeremy Lowe says, I see Sergey earning his money this year. I tell you what, Lightning fans, I don't think they're ready to cut both. I don't think they're ready to cut him any slack.
No.
If he doesn't reach expectations and continues to make, look, he's supremely talented, and maybe our expectations have been a little bit too high of him. We want him to be another Victor Hedman. We're not going to ever see another Victor Hedman. I hate to say that. He is, he's
a Hall of Fame player.
He's a Hall of Fame defenseman. I mean, he's going to go down, I think, is certainly in our generation as the top three defensemen. I don't think there's any question about that.
No,
he's a generational talent.
And we forget it didn't.
And he's got a lot left in the tank.
Yes, he does. But we forget Victor Hedman didn't click right away.
No, no.
It wasn't until probably that 2013, 2014 season when he was 4 or 5 years in the league at the time,
right?
Until he flipped a switch, and then in the postseason in 2015 is where we said, okay, this guy's elite.
Yeah,
and it's been on that ride since. Defensemen, it just takes longer. It's the same thing with goalies. So I think the thing is, it's because Sergachev has already played. He's already played like 5 seasons, I think, and we feel like you don't want to think that he's already plateaued,
right?
Because if this is his best and he's really plateaued at the moment, then you're kind of going exactly. You're kind of going, I didn't pay for a fourth defenseman.
No, I mean, just in general, we're going to miss Ryan McDonough big time.
Hugely.
I mean, his shot blocking, his overall hockey intelligence, the way he breaks up plays, the way he reads plays, the way he's just, he's a savant when it comes to that. And nobody wanted to get rid of Ryan McDonough. That was a salary cap deal. They had to find, some room there. And it made, it didn't end well. It rarely does. But this is where Sergachev has to step up. And hopefully he will. Prediction. I think this first year of this big contract, I think, is going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for him. The expectations and everything, the maturity in his game, the maturity in his life, will reflect in his game. He's got to take it more seriously, and we'll see what happens. I think it's a huge question mark. And how will he be able to handle the pressure? So all eyes are on Mikhail Sergachev this year. No question about it. I want to flip into, and Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 10:30, so we'll be doing a lot more intense Bucs discussion. So I just want to hit a little bit on last night's game because it has certainly a connection to the Sunday game. The roughing the passer call last night on Chris Jones was an absolute asinine joke. If you didn't see it, he comes from behind, rips the ball out. The ball is actually out, and he falls on top of Derek Carr. And the call is the body weight down on the quarterback, roughing the passer. And this is the problem with the NFL. And it's kind of like what we talked about earlier this year, is that the guys that officiate this game mostly are attorneys and accountants. And that's how they officiate the game, by the letter of the law, so to speak. Did he fall on him with his body weight? Yes, he did. Was the ball out and him trying to capture the ball and secure the ball while he's falling down? Absolutely. That was the part of the play. When he sees the ball coming out, his first instinct is to, I've got to secure that ball. And wherever his weight lies or lands is insignificant in the play in terms of roughing the passer. And that's where I see a referee who has never played the game, looking at this and say, oh, well, his body landed on top of the quarterback. According to my sheet here, that is a foul. I shall throw, said Hanky. Oh, my God. No, that's not the way this game is supposed to work. You have to officiate in the spirit of the rules. The spirit of the rule is we don't want guys, and I forget who it was, and it was a playoff game, and it was a quarterback that got landed on. It's almost 10 years ago, I think, and full body weight, took him out of the game. That's where that rule came into play. And you could see in that particular play that defensive lineman wanted to land on top of him and create an injury. I get that you're trying to get it out of the game. So to me, it should be intentional landing on the quarterback if you want to do it by letter of the law. Okay, that is not what happened in this case. Not even close to what happened in this case. And coming off the heels of what happened with Tom Brady and the Falcons game, which clearly cost the Falcons the game. And I said that on a recap yesterday and on Sunday as well on social media, and people kind of took umbrage and said, well, it doesn't mean the Falcons are going to win the game. Absolutely, it doesn't mean it. But let's just be honest about it. The Falcons had all the momentum at that particular point. They were running the ball at will. They would have had 4 downs in order to get first downs on their way to a game-winning touchdown. The Bucs defense was gassed and injured. They had 3 or 4 guys that were not coming back in the game in the secondary. They couldn't stop the run as it was at that particular point. I think the drive before, the Falcons ran 6 or 7 straight times into the end zone. So what makes you think that the Bucs defense was going to stop them with 4 minutes to go? And I think they had, at that point, they still had all their timeouts left. If they get the ball even at the 10-yard line at that point, they just may need to just turn around and hand off the ball, and they're going down the field. I mean, if you don't think that call was a game changer, you're just not, you're looking at it through pewter glasses. That was a critical call, and my guess is if that goes the other way, if the Falcons get the ball at that point, I think they win the game. And I think there's a very different narrative. We're talking about the Bucs right now, a very different narrative. Yeah. And by the way, on this show, the narrative is that was a poorly played game, and we're going to hear Brady talk about the lack of execution of his team. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah, but I mentioned at the front though about the officiating. You brought it up. These guys are legal people, and they kind of look at it from that standpoint. But I threw it right back at you. It's not even their fault. It's the actual rule book, and I had the rule right in front of me here, and I'm going to read it because this is what they're referring to when they make these calls.
Right.
When tackling a passer who is in a defenseless posture during or just after throwing a pass, a defensive player must not unnecessarily or violently throw him down or land on top of him with all or most of the defender's weight. Instead, the defensive player must strive to fall to the side of the quarterback's body or to brace his fall with his arms to avoid landing on the quarterback with all or most of his body weight. Now, whoever wrote this has never played tackle football.
Never.
Has never. I don't know who decided this was a thing. You're asking a defender in real time where the game is as fast as it's ever been. The guys are bigger, stronger, as fast as they've ever been. And now you want them, when they're sacking a quarterback, now it's not enough. We have to try to fall on our side as we're trying to make a play.
Defy the law of physics.
To the point where yesterday, and this didn't surprise me,
because if you're falling like this, can't you in midair just turn to the side? In a split
I'd like
second?
to see whoever wrote this try to do it.
Yeah.
But no, his belly's hanging over his gut, and he can't even. Here you go.
Well, and that's why I think we need officials who have played the game. We need to replace these accountants and lawyers with football players Football players that have played the game at a college or that should be minimum. A college or professional level. Let's revamp the whole thing and have players who have played the game understand the physics so the game can be officiated in the spirit of the game. I understand the safety rules, which I'm going to get into a little bit later on in the show. I think it's way too over the top. The players know the dangers of the game. Let's stop treating them like they're like they have to be put on a crystal vase. It's ridiculous. It's football. It's a violent sport. That's why we watch it. That's why we want to see it. It's not a gladiator situation of the freaking Romans, but people will liken it to it. That's not what's going on here. But there also has to be a level of violence in the game for it to be entertaining. Sorry, that's what it is. It's tackle football. So when you're officiating it to the letter of the law like this, that's not the way the game is meant to be played. It's not. And I don't think these accountants and lawyers understand that.
Nobody's asking for this. Nobody is asking for this, by the way, in the game. At least defensive players obviously aren't asking for it.
Players in general.
They just aren't asking for it. I mean, they know the risk of it. That's why they get
the players are sick of it.
Yes.
All of
it's
them.
to the point where last night there was a play where Max Crosby came free.
Yeah, I saw it.
I mean, we can't even – it's like the second he touches Mahomes, we're blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
We're blowing the whistle. We don't know what could happen there. Mahomes could make something crazy,
what that
get it
felt
out.
like?
What?
Watching that?
What?
Pro Bowl.
It did.
It felt like the Pro Bowl.
It did feel like the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Like we're going to blow the whistle as soon as somebody gets close to you. And I was like, oh, my God. Patrick Mahomes is 6'3", 235, 240 pounds. He ain't gonna fall apart. And a lot of it overreaction was because of the Tua situation.
That's exactly
and Tua
what it
is fragile. He is so small and he is fragile. And that's part of the game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Now, was that tackle a little bit more violent than it should have been? I would argue yes. I think those are the penalties that need to be called when you sling a guy around and slam him to the ground. I thought that was, but that's not what Grady Jarrett did the other day. That was not what he did. And it took Tom Brady. In fact, Brady's helmet didn't even hit the turf. So it's something that has got to be immediately up. The NFL has to talk about this and come out and say, look, these calls are wrong. We've gone completely overboard. We're going to instruct our officials to be much more judicious about calling roughing the passer calls, because these are game-changing calls that, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people out there, and I'll be included in this, that feels like the NFL has way too much control with their officials on the outcome of games.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. The NFL has way too much control on the outcome of the games because of how it controlled the official. And you could, if you were a conspiracy theorist, you could look at a lot of these games and a lot of these calls, these high-profile calls that are so freaking bad, and say, what's going on here? What's going on here? And once you lose the credibility of your game, once you lose that, you have no game left. You have no game left. So much of the NFL is based on betting and gambling. And if the gamblers feel like the game is fixed, you got real issues.
Here's what's interesting.
You got real issues.
Here's what's interesting, and I'll credit Tom Pelissaro from NFL Network for finding the stat. But we all think this is like a newfound problem, but actually, he says through week 5, roughing the passer calls are down 45% compared to last season. There were 51 at this point last year. There's only been 28 this year. So, again, a lot of this is just because there's a few of these that are so egregiously bad.
Right. Game changers.
It starts these conversations, but in reality, it's not happening at the clip that it used to.
I'm not so much about just the roughing the passer call. It's not just the roughing the passer call. It's pass interference. It's holding. It's just it's where you turn on the tape and you look at it. And there was a holding call against the Falcons that gave the Bucs a first down in that drive as well. I looked at that. I'm saying, are you kidding me? 3 yards off the line. It's Terrell versus Evans. It's off the line. Evans comes in and initiates the contact. Terrell grabbed him within the 5-yard zone. That never gets called. And and Evans threw his arms up and kind of with the histrionics here. And I'm being objective about it. I mean, I'm glad the Bucs won the game, but if that was in the other team's situation, you Bucs fans would be losing your freaking minds. And you, the way so consistent the way they call things in this league. And it sometimes it makes you feel like, I mean, especially if you're a Falcons fan, you're like, does the league want Brady to stay in first place? Of course it does. Of course. Does the league want the Bucs to be an also-ran and out of the playoffs? Hell no, they don't want that. And you lend the conspiracy theorist credibility when you see these garbage ass calls.
Yeah.
It's bad for the game.
What the thing is, though, honestly, we're pointing it at the NFL right now, but you could do this in every sport. You can go to MLB. We saw it. The strike zones are horrendous right now.
Yep.
You go to the NHL. We call the game completely different when we get to the playoffs, and it's kind of a gray area there. Yep. You look at the NBA. The NBA is almost unwatchable because of the amount of fouls they call.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, so you can go in every sport. There's always issues. I think it's a problem going on, and I can't put my finger on it why it is. It feels like every single sport has these problems. Of course, the NFL is always going to be the one that gets the most flack from it because they're the conglomerate, the multi-billion-dollar everything, and people love to just stick it to Goodell and everything. But it's a problem across all sports right now.
It really is. It really is. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Scott Reynolds is going to join us from the Pewter Report. We'll get his take on the roughing the passer calls last night and today. We'll get into the Bucs win over the Falcons. The Pewter Report podcast, which I listen to all the time, they were very, I think, gracious to the Bucs in this loss. We were much harder on them. So Scott and I are going to have a reckoning here on what exactly went on Sunday. I said it was a debacle. He's a little, well, we'll let him tell you all about it. When he comes back, Scott Reynolds joins us, Pewter Report. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, Using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We thank you guys so much for joining us each and every day, whether you're joining us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on our app, our dedicated app. Remember to download the app. We don't bombard you with any spam or any of that stuff. It's just for listening to the show. You just tap that app and the show will pop up anytime, anywhere. For easy listening, you can fast forward to the stuff you hate. Could there be anything? Or whatever you want to do. It's there for your listening pleasure on demand. So we thank you for listening. All right, we'll welcome in our good friend Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report. Speaking of podcasts and lots of coverage, you guys are killing it this year. I listened to all your podcasts.
Thanks, man.
Scott, how are you this morning?
Doing good. It's good to see this team get off the schneid, right? To have that 2-game losing streak, which hadn't happened in a minute, right? I mean, 2020, 2021, we've gotten spoiled with these wins under Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, and now, Todd Bowles at 3-2. Certainly, I think that they have a stretch here that opens up, and they've already accomplished the first goal of this 3-game stretch, which is beating the Falcons at home. Then you've got a very beat up and wounded, psychologically, physically wounded Pittsburgh team after that beating.
Just say
crappy team. After that beat down at the hands of the Buffalo Bills, right, last week. So this should be a win coming up on Sunday. Then you've got a team that's in complete disarray in the Carolina Panthers the following week on the road. No Baker Mayfield, high ankle sprain, no head coach, Matt Rule fired, no defensive coordinator, Phil Snow gone. So we talked about the beginning of the season, this juggernaut, this 4 games where the Buccaneers really had to be at worst 2-2, and they were. But now it opens up. You've got a chance to be 5-2 heading into what should be one hell of a game at Raymond James Stadium next time the Bucs play there against the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football at the end of the month here.
And they're arguably kind of beatable too.
Yeah.
All right. So you're absolutely right. A win's a win. But as I listen to your podcast, I'm going to say it. I think you went a little easy on the boys. I think you went a little easy on the boys. I don't want the narrative to be determined by the score, the outcome of the game. And I know you guys do this. You guys watch more film. You break it down better than anybody. And I try to watch a lot as well.
Yeah.
What I saw bothers me. There are a lot of things in this team that bother me. I think the Atlanta Falcons have been scrappy.
Yeah.
I think I do like their coach. I like a lot of things that they're doing. But they were without Cordero Patterson, and they were without Kyle Pitts. They were a one-dimensional offense. You had a 21-0 lead, and as my colleague here said yesterday, you should have Buffalo Billed their ass.
That's right.
You should have buried their ass 38-3. And you let them back in the game by going conservative on offense, or maybe even just not executing on offense.
Right.
There was a malaise of that second half. I didn't like anything I saw from the Bucs offensive line, from Tom Brady, from anybody. There was just no focus offensively.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that Todd Bowles has a lot of defensive coordinator type feelings as a head coach, where they tend to sit on leads and depend on their defense. That's not the way this team is made. They're not executing on offense like they should. The left guard is a problem, and it needs to be addressed, in my opinion.
Sure.
There are things about this team that I say you should have stepped on their neck and destroyed that football team like the Buffalo Bills did. That's a championship performance. What I saw from the Buccaneers was lack of execution, lack of focus, lack of intensity. And that has been a recurring theme. You saw it against the Chiefs as well. So I'm not giving them a pass, partner.
I'm not giving them a pass either. I'm trying to figure out what happened and why.
Yeah.
And so again, we've all, when I say we, the media, the fans, the team itself, the coaches, we have been accustomed to seeing a juggernaut offense that scores 30-plus points per game, right? They scored multiple times over 40 last year. They averaged 29.9. And so I think that when this team got to 21-0 in the third quarter, they said, here we go. Just like old times, we're back. We're finally back. But the problem is they're not back. There's no Rob Gronkowski. There's no Pro Bowl left guard Ali Marpet. There's no Pro Bowl center Ryan Jensen. There's no Antonio Brown, right? And there's no Julio Jones either, right, on Sunday.
Right.
And there's a Russell Gage who is hamstrung, really, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that they have the horses to do what the Bills did or what they've done in years past, right? And I thought that they thought it was going to happen. We're on our way to 30-plus points. It's going to be 31-0. We're going to beat these guys and shut them out. And I think they collectively took their foot off the gas a little bit because it felt like old times for a minute. And it was a wake-up call, man. It was a wake-up call because and as much as I didn't necessarily want Ndamukong Suh back or Jason Pierre-Paul back, when those guys were healthy in 2020, I mean, let's not forget, Jason Pierre-Paul was a Pro Bowler, the lone Pro Bowler in 2020, right?
Yeah.
And Joe Tryon-Shoyinka had a very good first half, made a great play against the run, had a sack on third down, had another pressure, which led to a punt on third down, then kind of disappeared a little bit in the second half. And I thought Vita Vea was disappearing in the first half, and he kind of came on in the second half. And you got to play 4 quarters. So I think this was a teachable moment for Todd Bowles to say, guys, this is not 2020. This is not 2021. We don't have the horses. This is the new normal. Yeah. And again, remember, they scored 31 the week before against Kansas City, but they were always chasing the scoreboard. So they were always in up-tempo, pass the ball, right? And the Chiefs are probably, remember that lead was 10 points, 17 points, 10 points, 17. They were probably playing a little bit of soft prevent with a couple of, pressure packages by Spagnuolo in there. But I just think that this team was tricked a little bit by the past. And I think Todd Bowles says, guys, we're a different team. We don't have some of those key pieces. And everybody I mentioned, future Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski, Pro Bowler Ali Marpet, future Hall of Fame caliber in terms of statistics, not character, but statistics, Antonio Brown, Pro Bowl center Ryan Jensen, right? So, and Luke Gedeke wasn't on the Super Bowl team, right? Robert Hainsey, wasn't on the Super Bowl team. So there's guys here that are still figuring out how to win, that are blocking in front of Tom Brady.
Yep.
and they're being asked to play at a Marpet and Jensen level, and they don't have Marpet Jensen experience. They don't have Marpet Jensen ability. So this is a work in progress. There is a new normal here in Tampa, and I hate that term. I really do. I can't stand the term, but it's totally applicable here because this is not the same explosive type offense. This team needs to learn how to win, scoring 21 points per game, because I think that's a much more realistic expectation. And
it's like watching the Rays.
And you're going to get 24, and you're going to get 27 on occasion, but you're going to get under 20 as well, as we saw against the Packers. And this team needs to transition into being defensive dominant, because they're scoring, JP, they're scoring 21 points with Tom Brady. They scored 12 points against the Packers with Tom Brady. There's a very good chance Tom Brady is not here next year. Okay.
Yeah, it's just in.
So I'm just saying, this is a preview of coming attractions. This is a spoiler alert of what this team is and will be.
So you agree with me? They're crappy.
I'm not putting any money on the Bucs winning the Super Bowl this year. Let's put it that way. And listen, I could see this team get healthy and hot and make a march into January. I could also see this team winning the division and being one and done at home. Either one of those scenarios is totally plausible. We have to wait and see how this plays out. Yeah. But this is not the 2020 Buccaneers. This is not the 2021 Buccaneers.
I think we essentially agree on what happened. Yeah. Did you have something for Scott?
I mean, I know you probably aren't even that surprised. You picked them 11-6, right?
I did. I got crucified for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Because I didn't pick 13 wins or 14 or whatever. Like, no.
Yeah, I think that's my takeaway. It's like tempering expectations, and you went through it, and you did it in the podcast as well, especially when you were talking about Gedeke. He's not Ali Marpet, and he's not even close to Alex Kappa.
Correct.
To be honest with you. And that's a big thing. But I was going to ask you about the lack of explosiveness in the offense. You alluded to it there, and you alluded to this point in the podcast a little bit. Do you think there's more to Brady's shoulder injury that is allowing them not to be as explosive? Because even when they tried with Scotty Miller, I think it was like 3 times in that game, just underthrew him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Right? It's Les Steckel, former offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers for 1 year. I mean, I've learned something from all the coaches I've covered, even the bad ones. But the one thing he said was, the further you throw the ball down the field, I don't care who you are, the less likely chance that pass connects. And so when you have a very accurate quarterback like Tom Brady, when he's 100%, bombs away. That's why Tom Brady was so good right off the bat in this Bruce Arians offense, because he, and everybody was poo-pooing Tom's arm in New England, because the only receiver that could catch a damn pass the final year in 2019 was Julian Edelman. And he's not a deep vertical guy. He's a short underneath, quick slot receiver. And so people were making all these assumptions about Brady's arm. He can't push the ball. Well, he's throwing to Philip Dorsett.
Yeah.
And the ball is either underthrown or overthrown because Dorsett can't gauge, the track the ball properly. And there's nobody that could get down the field. N'Keal Harry's been a bust. So Brady comes here and he's got, he's got a speed guy like Scotty Miller. He's got Chris Godwin, who was healthy at the time. He's got Mike Evans. And all of a sudden you add in Antonio Brown in midseason, and Brady's just chucking the ball over. And plus, too, let's not forget Rob Gronkowski, those 25, 30-yard chunks down the seam. Yep. And so all of a sudden Brady has an arm. He's 5,000-yard passer and 40 touchdowns. And I do think it's a long roundabout answer to your question, but yes, I do think that shoulder injury takes a little something off the ball. And it's also the ring finger too, man. Now we're talking the grip.
That was pretty damn good, brother. If I was a 40-yard rope.
It was. And I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying, is every single pass going to be spot on the money? I mean, that was a touchdown to Scotty Miller that was underthrown the first pass, right? That it just was. Miller had to wait on it. The defender, he had like a step or two on the DB.
Got interfered with.
He got interfered with twice, really. But the thing is that could have been and should have been a touchdown, And was that just a bad throw, or was it something having to do with the shoulder and the ring finger? The other thing, too, is on that 4th and 1, we have seen Tom Brady do plenty of quarterback sneaks here.
That?
Yeah.
How do you not call the sneak there, especially with the two?
I just think
the 3 defensive tackles. You had one head up on the center, and the A and B gap were wide open.
I agree. That's
taking candy from a baby.
I'm with you. I just think, and I don't know this to be fact, but Brady has got, a damaged throwing ring finger here, and he's got the shoulder, and I don't think they want to subject him to any further injury. And I thought they could get it. And, Fournette probably should have just stuck his nose in there and gone forward. But
this brings me to another question
that
I think is apropos too. And we talked about game management by Todd Bowles, and there haven't been a lot of crucial calls, but I thought he blew a couple right there. Should have challenged the Kate Otten spot. Should have challenged the Fournette spot. I know spots are hard to win.
Yeah.
But both of those I thought were really, really evident, especially Otten. Otten's whole torso was over the line.
I agree.
Before getting pushed back. That was a no-brainer challenge. And it ends up costing you. And he probably thought at that point, well, I can get it on 4th down. It's just so I don't want to waste the challenge. I kind of get that a little bit. But then the Fournette one I thought was also obvious. He should have challenged both of those.
I agree with you. And these are some learning lessons. At the same time, I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised that we saw a little, no risk it, no biscuit from Todd Bowles after the missed field goal by Atlanta with just over a minute left in the timeouts. He used them and went down there and got the field goal, which proved to be a pretty crucial points right there for them. And I thought for sure Todd Bowles was going to say, hey, we're going to get out of here at halftime 10-0. We feel pretty good about it. But he went ahead and showed me something there that I pleasantly surprised about.
That was a no-brainer with Tom Brady.
I thought it was a no-brainer too, but again, just like you said, JP, we're talking about a conservative, defensive-minded guy. If it was Arians, there's no question, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But with Bowles, that was an interesting little litmus test. Like how much of that no risk and no biscuit influence are we going to see from Todd Bowles? And I was pleasantly surprised. And it worked out.
One comment, Scott Reynolds joining us here from Pewter Report, and I know you saw it. You guys talked about it as well. Devin White saying they were bored in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, after, especially watching the tape of 45.
It didn't sound good.
Dude, I love his energy. I love Devin White. His tape sucks, bro. He's the easiest linebacker to block. And a guard or tackle gets anywhere near him, he can't, he doesn't take on blockers. I think he's a big problem in the run game right now. I think Lavonte David is not the superstar that he once was in the run game. I think, we were missing Ndamukong Suh in that interior run game. Sorry. Guys are getting pushed off the ball. This run defense is an issue. And when Vita Vea is not out there, it's a real big issue.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to admit, I've not been terribly impressed with Vita Vea this year too. And remember last year we saw maybe the real Devin White without Lavonte David down the stretch, right? When Lavonte was out, I mean, the Jets game that the Bucs got run over big time there.
Big time.
The two Panthers games, right? I mean, so we saw Devin struggle without Lavonte David. Lavonte David's kind of the eraser, right? He erases those mistakes that Devin White makes. And I don't think either linebacker played terribly well on Sunday. And I think that the film and the stats kind of back that up. At the same time, I kind of have some concerns about Vita Vea because Suh was a very good influence on Vita Vea. And the interesting thing here is look, I love Lavonte David. You'll never hear me say a bad word about him. He is more of a Rondé Barber type leader. And I've had conversations with Rondé. He probably shared this with you. He's very tight with both of us.
Yeah.
Rondé never wanted to be a team captain, or I should say he never wanted to be a general. Yeah. He looked at John Lynch, Derek Brooks, and Warren Sapp as the generals. He's like, I'll be the lieutenant. I'll be the hype man, the guy standing there. What he said, right? Like that's the type of leadership that Rondé Barber wanted to have. Now, when all those guys were gone and Rondé's the last man standing, right? He had to wear the C, and it had to be. But I think Lavonte is in that kind of I'd rather be the lieutenant than the general type mentality. The problem is the other guys on that defense that have the C, Devin White, what is he, 24, 25 now?
Yeah.
Vita Vea, 27. there's something to be said, right? I mean, again, I was all in favor of moving on from JPP. I think his body's shot. I think the Ravens will find that out sooner rather than later.
We're missing his leadership.
But the dude was a leader. He was a dog. And also Sue was too. And both of those guys, what they have in common, they're in their 30s. Something magical happens when you turn 30 in the NFL. Part of it is, holy crap, I played to 30, right? Because the life expectancy for NFL players in terms of their careers is still, I think, 3 or 4 years in the league, right? So, so you've doubled that. You've maybe even tripled that depending on when you entered the league. And you understand, hey, I'm 30 now. In either I'm still chasing the Super Bowl ring, or this is probably the last hurrah for one, right? And you dial in, you get more serious. You see the sands of time slipping through the hourglass, where you don't when you're 25 and 27, because we've been there. We won the Super Bowl. I went to the Pro Bowl. There's always next year. There's always the year after that. Shoot him under contract for 4 more years here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that stuff's real. That stuff's real. And so here you have some leaders, and Devin White's one of them, Vita Vea the other. And I'm a fan of both of their talents. I'm a fan of both of their potentials, and I'm a fan of both of their past performances in certain situations. And I think both guys are good, and I think they mean well, and I think they want to be good/great. But I also think that there is an immaturity, and I don't mean that necessarily in a derogatory way.
Right.
I mean that kind of as a matter of fact way. Like I can sit there and say, JP, you're ignorant about everything, and you'll take that as an insult. Or I can sit there and say, yeah, well, but that's not the case. But I could sit there and say, JP, you're ignorant about Kansas State football, and that's 100% true. And I'm not using that as a knock or an insult to you.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. Right. But you know what I'm saying? So I think there was an ignorance among Vita Vea and Devin White because of their age and their lack of experience in this league and lack of longevity. And I don't mean that as an insult, but it's a fact. And so that sense, and that's where it applies to the sense of urgency. You shouldn't get bored at any point in time. It's a fourth-quarter game,
No way. Great stuff. Scott, always great to chat with you, my friend. We got Erik Erlendsson on deck to talk a little hockey, so I know
go Bolts
for that. I know you're ready for the Bolts tonight,
I'm ready. Yes, go Bolts, beat the Rangers.
I can't wait to see that. Watch tonight on ESPN 7:30 puck drop. Tell everybody what's going on with Pewter Report this week. I know you got more podcasts coming up as we
do. We got our big Bucs Steelers preview tomorrow at 4:00. You can watch it live or the podcast version on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. Make sure you subscribe to that. We have podcasts Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and of course Sunday with our pregame and postgame podcasts as well. You can find out all of the Bucs news and happenings and read our columns at pewterreport.com, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report.
All right, Scotty, thanks, man. Appreciate your time as always. Go Bolts and go Bucs this week at Pittsburgh. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Erik Erlendsson is going to join us. Double E's, the best in the business when it comes to talking Lightning hockey. We're so great to have him back on our air. So quick break here, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com, and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. They're going to give away 4 tickets to the Florida-Georgia game on this program. Not today, but for the Florida-Georgia game. We're going to figure out how to get them to you folks. We'll have some type of contest, but that's courtesy of our great folks at the Jeeves Law Group. Back in 3 minutes with Erik Erlendsson. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious athlete.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency, and the Jeeves Law Group, and Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. If you have any questions about claims for the hurricane, even if they don't do your homeowner's insurance, you can give them a call there and have them shop your insurance around. You might save a ton of money. 813-877-7799. All right, let's bring in the man, Double E's, LightningInsider.com, Erik Erlendsson, to talk some bolts. It's opening night, my friend. The Lightning are on Broadway, the team that they just ousted out of the Eastern Conference Finals. This is a nice little matchup. Good morning to you, and so good to have you back on the JP Peterson Show. Really
it's good to be with you, JP. And boy, as we were talking last night, seeing Nick there, it's brings back a lot of memories, man. It's
tell
incredible.
Everybody.
Yeah, so Nick and my number 2 son were on the same soccer team for a couple of years, and Nick's mom and myself helped manage that team. And this is what, U14, U15 age group. Yeah. So when Nick found out who I was and what I did, he came up to me one day and said, "Hey, I want to do what you do one day." And now I'm looking back here in the camera and seeing Nick doing exactly what he said he was going to do. That's great, Nick. That's so awesome, man. I'm very, very happy for you. You do a great job. Opening night, it's always fun, right?
Well, before we get into that, give me a coaching analysis. Was he a good player? Was he any good? Strengths and weaknesses.
Our team wasn't very good.
We had some coaching issues.
Our team was if every club has an A and B team, we were the C team. That's what we were. So we had some coaching issues, and but look, the kids played hard. All of them did. It was a great group of kids to coach and be around, and that's what made that part of coaching my kids so much fun was players like Nick, who they're not messy, they're not out there expecting to be on a world stage someday, but they worked hard and they did everything. So I always appreciated the attitude, because that was a tough year. That was a very tough year for a lot of us. And like I know me and Nick's mom, we had no idea what we were doing. But we made it work, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, as long as the kids are having fun, that's all that matters.
I know my talent got buried there a little bit.
We're blaming the coach officially. Is that what we're doing?
So did whatever coaching I gave you.
So were you the coach?
No, I was officially a manager. I would help out. The coach was Francisco.
I was going to say the coach sometimes was a no-show. So Erik might have been a de facto coach on a few nights.
How's the coach just not show up?
Which would explain where all those kids went in their soccer careers, because I'm not sure I helped them at all.
Oh my gosh. That's one thing. Neither one of my kids chose soccer, as though I never really got the full soccer experience. But I've been to a few games. My nieces played soccer at a pretty high level, and it's intense. And I think and I may be wrong, but of all the parental involvement, I think soccer. Ooh, man, soccer parents, I think, are maybe at whether you want to go at the top or the bottom of the level of just obnoxious involvement. Am I wrong at this?
I would say soccer and baseball, because
Yeah.
my kids played a little
Oh,
bit of baseball too. Again, very low level. Baseball parents, because I think because the game is a little slower.
Yeah.
It gives them more opportunities to talk and complain, because you could hear plenty of those.
I think they're also frustrated from having to sit out in the heat for 4 hours to watch a baseball game. At some point, you're like, umpire, you suck.
And that's after 6 hours of watching practice during the week to get ready for the game.
Right. I'm so glad my son chose football. There's like one game a week, no travel ball, none of that stuff is beautiful. All right, let's talk some hockey. Opening night tonight, a lot of changes. I mean, we could say that a lot of changes, but the bottom line is, and we should always remember this, the core stays the same. Yeah. Right. The core stays the same, and that's what's important. I think Brisebois has done a phenomenal job in keeping the most important players here. You hate losing guys that we've lost. You hate losing Pally. You hate losing McDonough. It's part of the game. But how would you assess what Brisebois has done to rebuild this team?
It's even retooling, right? It's not even necessarily rebuilding, because
retooling.
And the thing with this team is, everybody talks, they're an aging team. They've played a lot of games. They have played a lot of games. However, they're not an aging team. Yeah, you've got a couple of guys now on the other side of 30, which for a number of years that wasn't the case. But Steven Stamkos is coming off arguably the best offensive year of his career, hitting the 100-point mark for the first time. Victor Hedman had a career year, hit the 20-goal mark for the first time. Even Alex Killorn had a career-high offensive year as well. So you have those guys still productive. Nikita Kucherov's 29. Andre Vasilevsky's 29. Braden Point is 25. Anthony Cirelli is 24. So it's not a bunch of aging players, quote unquote. Right. And then you add in, what Julian was able to do at the trade deadline in bringing in Brandon Hagel on the contract that he has. And I know there were a lot of expectations for Brandon Hagel because of the 20 goals he scored in Chicago. I had a chance to talk to him during camp, and he mentioned how it was a struggle for him to make the transition. He'd never been traded at any point in his career. He wasn't expecting to be traded. The teammates in Chicago loved him. There was some comments from Jonathan Toews coming out after they traded him, saying they couldn't understand why they traded Brandon Hagel.
Yeah.
So he struggled. I think he's going to have a good bounce back year. They're going to give him some opportunities. He was getting some looks on the number 2 power play unit yesterday at practice. So they'll try and rotate him in there every now and then. And then Nick Paul. He's got that great reputation already. Nick Paul does it all, because he did as soon as he came over for this team. So to bring in guys like that are still, 25 or younger, or in Paul's case, he's 27, to add to this team and to be able to do it in the era of the flat cap. The salary cap's gone up $1 million in the past 3 years.
Right.
We expect it to take a jump next year, and that's where the extensions to Sergachev, Chernak, and Cirelli are going to kick in. But Julian Brisebois and his staff, Matthew Darsh and everybody else in that front office, have done a tremendous job to keep this team as competitive as possible. And as I say all the time, it never hurts when you have Andre Vasilevsky in net.
That's for sure. Erik Erlendsson joining us here, lightninginsider.com. If you're not subscribing to that, you're not following the Lightning as you should. Let's talk about Sergachev. Obviously, with McDonough gone and Sergachev getting the huge contract in the offseason, there are a lot of expectations on him. I said it in the beginning of the show. We need to see a maturity in his game that maybe we haven't seen as consistently as much as we need to. What are your thoughts on what his role will be? Do you think he will fulfill that this year? It's going to be tough.
It's tough. Those are heavy minutes to replace, and you're not going to. You're not going to replace certainly McDonough's presence in the locker room. His voice carried so much weight. So, you lose a lot when you lose Ryan McDonough. With Sergachev, I'm always so impressed every time you talk to him about his attitude, about his willingness to want to get better. And I think with him and knowing him a little bit, I think he's ready for this. I think he understands what is ahead of him and what he's going to be asked to do. The first thing we have to say is he's not going to be Ryan McDonough. So let's not try and compare him to Ryan McDonough.
Mm-hmm.
He has a different style of game, but he took a little stumble, I think, at times last year. And, you question the decision-making with the puck sometimes.
Yep.
We have to remember, though, he's still 24 years old. He's got a ton of experience. It feels like he's been here forever, but he is only 24. So he's still going to be prone to making some of those mistakes. But he is one of those players that I think learns from those mistakes, and the responsibility they're given from, I think he's going to take it to heart. Does that mean he's going to jump up and have a career year? He wants to put up more offensive points. It's a big part of his game. And he's talked about that. He even said he changed his stick over the summer. He worked on his shot. So he's trying to do a few more of those things to get himself better. I think he's ready for the responsibility that's being asked of him. I think he's ready for this challenge. He just strikes me as that kind of a player.
Erik Erlendsson joining us here, talking Lightning as they get set to open up tonight on Broadway against the Rangers. 7:30 puck drop on ESPN. Talk a little bit more about the blue line and the changes. Not only is McDonough gone, but you're looking at Ian Cole being suspended, which I'm sure came out of the blue for the Lightning. So now you got Hayden Fleury and Philippe Myers as your third defenseman pair. Let's talk about the young kids and then just the blue line in general. How long is this going to take to maybe get to the level what the Lightning want it to be?
It might take a little bit. First of all, Jan Ruda is gone also. And, Jan Ruda certainly had a share of detractors, but what Jan Ruda provided over the past few years was a very steady and reliable partner for Victor Hedman. And it's not easy to play with Victor Hedman. His game is so dynamic and he reads the game so differently from anybody else. You have to be able to read off of Victor Hedman. And that's why, Victor's basically had the same two guys for the past 10 years. It's either been Anton Strawman or it's been Jan Ruda. Now he has to adjust to what looks like it's going to be a Cal Foot situation. And there's another guy talk about having to make steps forward. He's a guy who has to take another step forward this year, especially if he's going to have that responsibility to play next to Victor Hedman. And the Cole situation, it came out of the blue. They weren't prepared for that. He was the guy who was going to take some of those heavy minutes, especially on the penalty kill that Ryan McDonough played. And all of a sudden, 2 days before the start of the regular season, he's not available to you for off-ice reasons. And it's gonna take a little bit. Myers is actually both Myers and Fleury are in some ways reclamation projects, right? Fleury is a former top 10 pick who just couldn't find his game in Carolina, was traded to Anaheim, was picked in the expansion draft by Seattle. So he's at a point in his career where either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And in some ways, it's the same way with Myers. Myers had a great season in the AHL before he made his debut with Philadelphia. There were high hopes for him, and he just kind of leveled off. So he's another guy that's going to take a little bit of time. So, the defensive core is going to be a work in progress in the early stages of the season for sure.
Erik Erlendsson joining us here, talking some Lightning. Cole Koepke and Vlad Namestnikov, Ross Colton are supposedly making up the third line, and this is going to be very dynamic and changing. On Saturday, I was there watching Vlad score a hat trick. I'm like, okay.
Vladdy Hattie.
It's hard to do better than that than your first time back on Lightning ice. Where do you think does he end up on that top line? What do you think?
The lines are going to be fluid. It looked like, based on what we saw practice yesterday, he's going to be on that third line with Colton and Nick Paul. But Namestnikov can play with Kucherov and Stamkos. We saw that a couple times during camp. Yep. And the one thing about Vlad is he's not the same player he was when he left here 4 or 5 years ago. He's in that big trade that brought in Ryan McDonough with the Rangers at the trade deadline in 2018. He's a mature player. His game is more mature. He understands. I had a chance to talk to Jeff Blashill about him. Of course, Blash coached him in Detroit the past 2 seasons. He's talked about how much more he pays attention to defense and understanding how that part of the game is so much more important because, as Chief says all the time, good defense leads to good offense. And sometimes that's a hard thing for players to understand, especially high draft picks. And, Namestnikov was a 27th overall pick, but he was still a first round pick who had a lot of offensive talent. So in a lot of ways, the two guys to me that are X factors on this team this year, Namestnikov is one of them because he's going to play a lot of roles, power play, penalty kill, everything else. And the other guy is Ross Colton. Ross Colton's coming off a 20-goal campaign. What's he going to do to build off that? What's he going to do to give himself more minutes and more opportunities? He earned his way last year by getting on the number 2 power play when they had some injuries, and he's going to start there again on that right circle. So those, to me, those are the two guys I'm looking at from the forward ranks that are going to be X factors in determining how successful this team will be this year.
What do you think the effect of losing Derek Lalonde will be?
I think because they replaced him with Jeff Blashill, I don't think it's going to have as much of a fallout as you think. Derek, I love talking to Derek Lalonde. You know, we talked to assistant coaches on this team on occasion, and he was great to talk to. He always gave you great insight. He's a great communicator. But I think from an X's and O's standpoint, I think, you know, Jeff Blashill is the head coach from Detroit since, 15. He was there for 7 seasons with the Red Wings and, learning under guys like Jimmy Devellano and Steve Yzerman. And, so he's certainly knows his stuff. And I think he brings that same sort of talent level from a coaching standpoint to this staff. And he might not be as good of a communicator as Lalonde, but that's only because Lalonde is, way up here in what he does. I think it's going to be a seamless transition and everything else, the relationship that Blashill and Cooper have, because they're great friends going back to their days in junior.
That's great. Just finally, Erik, as I look at the season, I see obviously there's a lot of change, but again, it's the core that dominates the conversation. If they stay healthy, I don't see how this team doesn't make another deep run into the playoffs. Obviously health is such a big determining factor, but I even think, they have some depth. They played without key pieces and still, made it to game 6. I just love what I see. I don't see any drop off whatsoever. I'm trying to be objective about this, but I think they're a top 4 team right off the bat, and I expect nothing less than them to make a deep run. What are your overall thoughts on what you see and the talent out there? The other part that I think that plays into their favor is the parity in the league. I don't think there's another team out there that was, up here and then got so much better by adding, a superstar player. I mean, Giroux and some of these others going to, teams that weren't necessarily top contenders. So I don't think anybody else got markedly better. So I think that plays into the Lightning's favor. Your thoughts?
Well, you've got a Vezina caliber goalie.
Right.
You've got a Hart Trophy candidate in Nikita Kucherov. You've got a Norris Trophy candidate in Victor Hedman. I mean, you could arguably say Steven Stamkos was an MVP candidate last year, and he was on my ballot at the end of the year as well. And Braden Point, when Braden Point, I mean, he's the driver of everything, right? Him and Kucherov are the drivers of everything offensively on this team, and defensive have to really have their attention to him. So there might be an overall talent drop off, and your depth took a hit specifically on the back end as well. But this is still a playoff team. This is still a really good team. It's going to come down to matchups in the playoffs, as it always does. I think the Atlantic Division is deeper this year. It's going to be harder to get points out of your opponents because the gap between the bottom 4 teams and the top 4 teams has really narrowed, with maybe the exception of Montreal. I mean, people have Ottawa as a playoff team because of the changes they made, bringing Alex DeBrincat, Cam Talbot, and goal. Giroux, you mentioned, is there as well. To join guys like Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle and that. I mean, they got a good team in Ottawa, but you have to learn to win. You do have to learn to win. And this team here, this Lightning team, that's the one thing you can say over the past 3-4 years. They've learned to win. This used to be a team that wanted to beat you 4-3. Now they're more than happy to beat you 2-1, 1-0, whatever it takes to win. And I think because of that mentality, everything else, the NHL playoffs are the best because you never know what's going to happen. Upsets happen all the time. Upsets happen so often. We don't even talk about them as upsets. Oh, yeah, an 8 seed beat a 1 seed. Yeah, no big deal. Happens all the time. So you never know when you get into the playoffs. But the team has the pedigree. They have the hunger. They have the talent. I think everything is there for another deep run, and it should be another fun, exciting season.
Here we go. Opening night. Double E's, thanks so much. Tell everybody how they can get your content. Subscribe to lightninginsider.com.
Yeah, lightninginsider.com is the website. The first thing you see when you get there is how to sign up. There's 2 plans. There's a $40 $40 plan for a yearly subscription. There's a $4.99 plan for a monthly subscription. I have a code that you can use too. It's podcast, PODCAST. I'll put up next time I'm on, I'll give a unique code for the show here. But right now you can use the code podcast to take $10 off the first year of a yearly subscription. Got podcasts out as well. The first one just went up. Season preview went up last night. Yeah, find that wherever you find your podcasts. And of course, with the Lightning, I'll be doing the pregame skate show again, which airs 1 hour before every game. We did it just home games last year. This year, it's going to be before home and road games. So that's myself and Bobby the Chief Taylor at 6 p.m. On the Lightning Radio Network.
So when you're driving in, you can now listen to it on the app or at 102.5.2 HD.
Yes, the HD channel. Yeah.
That's right. 100,000 watt. And you can hear the post-game show afterwards, which I will be doing the post show on your way home. It's not going to be some scratchy AM station. It's going to be booming. So there you go. All right. Thanks, Double E's. Appreciate it, my man. We'll talk later.
Be good, boys.
All right. All right, we got TJ Rives coming up next. Quick break. We are brought to you by BAMMC.com in our second hour, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're looking to lose weight, they got some specials going on right now with their weight loss programs and testosterone replacement, folks. If you're an American man, you're losing 1% at least of your testosterone every year you're on the planet. And that means you're probably depleted. So go get your levels checked. Go to BAMMC.com. They have a great plan there for you. And sign up, tell them JP sent you. Back in 3 minutes with the great TJ Rives, Bucs sideline guy. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and his medical team over there will take great care of you. Also by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves is going to give away 4 tickets to the Florida-Georgia game on our program. So we're going to figure out how to get those to you. I think we're going to have some type of contest. So let's bring in our good friend TJ Rives, veteran radio man himself, who probably has done a gazillion giveaway contests. So what do we do to give away these Florida-Georgia things?
One or two times I've done some things to give something away.
Florida-Georgia fans, give me painted up some faces, send in some video.
We'll be creative.
Like how much
I did something very successful long ago when you were first coming to the market. I'm not sure if Nick Geddes was in diapers or not. This was in the mid-1990s, where I would have the listeners compete against each other, either singing or reading poetry. And it had to be an original song or poem that included my name, the station's name, and like in your case, the Florida-Georgia rivalry. It had to rhyme, had to make sense. And we did contests that way. I don't know how elaborate you want to get with this, but
I like
good
that.
luck. Good luck there for the
maybe a haiku or something.
Get creative.
Like yeah. All
Get
right.
creative with it. Good luck with that.
Because our Gator fans could be creative at times. Not like UCF fans making up national championships, but they're
very true.
But they are
the legends in their own mind. It's over in Orlando. Yes,
exactly. All right, TJ, give me your assessment of the overall performance from our Buccaneers. I was a little hard on the boys the last couple days. I was expecting a little bit more finish to that game than we got in the second half, allowing the Falcons to come back into the game. I'm concerned about the run defense. I'm concerned about the running offense for the Buccaneers. Those are my biggest concerns. What are you seeing?
All right, so a couple of things. The first thing is you were not being harsh completely because they were up 21-0 in the third period and in the beginning of the fourth period. You were harsh on the finish is what you're saying.
Yeah, second half was uninspiring to say the least. And frankly, it should have lost the game. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
I don't think so. Okay. I'm not going to go with that. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons have to be in position to win the game for you to say they should have lost the game.
Well,
they would have had to have the ball. They would have had to have the ball with a chance to win the game.
Well, there was the roughing passer fiasco that we need to address.
We can get into that here in just a moment or two, but fundamentally, the should have lost the game would require that Atlanta had the ball with a chance to win the game, right? Like, for example, on Monday Night Football last night, if I wanted to argue the Chiefs should have lost the game, Nick, help me out. The Raiders had the ball with the chance to win the game. I'm just smacking back at you that the should have lost a game requires Atlanta would have had to have the ball with the chance to win the game.
Far-fetched scenario, okay?
Yeah, all right.
They don't call roughing the passer.
Right.
They get the ball back like they should have gotten the ball back, and they continue to do what they did the entire second half, which was turn around, hand the ball off, and let a guy run because they did it 6 straight times right down the field and scored a touchdown. Didn't seem to be anybody on the other side too interested in stopping them, and the Buccaneer defense was beat up. They were tired. They were gassed. They were injured, and the Atlanta Falcons were smelling blood. So I'm just saying, they get the ball back like they should have, and they just turn around and hand it off. There's a pretty good chance it's going to end up in the end zone and the Falcons are going to win the game. I know that's a horribly, amazingly far-fetched scenario, but
I'm just saying fundamentally they never got the ball. Let's get to the whole controversy at the end because I love this in the back and forth. and I'm going to get a plug in here too on the Nothing But Bucs podcast, the official Bucs recap podcast. Yes. We talked to Jeff Darlington, and you saw Jeff after the game from ESPN's NFL Countdown and their coverage. So I had Jeff on. I teed him up just like you just teed me up and said, you have the floor. And he said, because he was talking to me about this after the game, he says, was the Scotty Miller play 2 plays before? I said, no, it was the play before. And it was right in front of me. Yep. And so Jeff Darlington on his own, not TJ, Jeff Darlington on his own, said, for anybody thinking that the non-call or the call in this case of roughing the passer on Grady Jarrett is the worst call in the history of the National Football League. It was only the worst call in the history of the NFL in the previous play, because the previous play is an awful no call on the Scotty Miller interference that's going to be a spot foul. It's right in front of me, JP. The defender is not looking for the ball. He's got his left shoulder right into Miller's chest, interfering with him on a ball that he easily could have caught had he not been interfered with and gotten his feet down. It's a horrible no call, and the game is over for you, for Falcon fan, for Twitter person, gambling person, fantasy football person that wanted more yards from Mariota or whoever. That call is going to end the game, because the Bucs are going to bleed the clock and or kick a suck-up field goal. They're not going to cover, by the way, because it was 9.5 or 10 was the line. That would have been at 9. So it ended up being 6. So Darlington's point was, if you're talking about the worst call of all time, it was only the worst call ever in the previous two plays.
Aren't even close. That PI call was a 50-50 one.
It was not a 50-50. It's not even a 75-25. It's a 90-10. Did you watch the game last night, and did you watch the 2 PI calls that Devontae Adams got in the first half of that game? Star receivers, big receivers, and big may be the bigger part of this, literally. Yeah. Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. They get that call 99 times out of 100 with somebody interfering with them because they're bigger. Yeah. I think we're picking on Scotty Miller's diminutive size on a Tuesday on Fans Fringe.
Should be canceled just because of that. Picking on it and saying dresses. My God.
I know.
All right. Fair enough. My bigger point is, the Bucs had a hard time stopping the run for the second straight.
They did at the end of the game. The end of the game. And for the reasons you expressed, that they were put on the field a couple of times on 3 and outs and right back on the field
3 in a row.
And I think it's fair to conclude they miss Akeem Hicks in the middle to help with run stopping. That's part of it. Yep. I think part of it is as well, you've got to be better on 3rd and long. The Falcons 2 different times on those 2 touchdown drives are facing like 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 9.
And they're one-dimensional.
Stop them on 3rd and long. That is advantage defense. Stop them and get off the field.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. So that's got to be better. That's clearly got to be better. But listen, we're parsing wins. I've gotten on you before for many reasons. One of those is, did we not live through the 80s? Did we not live through the 2010s? Pick a decade where you could not win a game. You couldn't win 3 games in a year, and we're now parsing wins, JP
We're
Peterson.
Past that, though, man.
My standards be higher?
Yes, I have Super Bowl expectations.
I have
the bar has
standards.
been taken up here, my friend.
I understand.
So we're not, we want more. We want more.
I'm happy with take the win, move on to Pittsburgh, do what you can with them, get to 4-2, calm everything down a little bit more, and we will rock on. We will see how it goes. I mean, as far as running the ball, this team is not going to be a 30 or 35 carry per game team, and I don't mean to suggest that you're saying that, but if they can run it effectively like what they did at the beginning of the game on Sunday in the first half of the game, where Fournette's busting off some yards and getting some first downs and getting 10 yards of carry, it sets up what they want to set up early, which is play action, misdirection. These kind of things are vital to setting up plays for the second and the third period. This may shock some of the keyboard warriors that I keep referencing on the show, some of the Twitter people, whomever, but you're actually doing things in the first quarter, setting stuff up for the second and the third quarter. So believe it or not, in part of a game plan, if you are successfully running, it's going to set up the play action. It's going to set up the misdirection. It's going to set up those things, but it's not meaning that you're going to have to run the ball another 20 times in the second, third, and fourth quarter to be effective. As Todd Bowles said, and Tom Brady has said this, Leonard Fournette even confirmed it after the game, they have certain pass plays that are like run plays that are the same idea of go get 5, 6, 7 yards on this short out on the receiver screen to Chris Godwin, the receiver screen they tried, the tight end screen to Cade Otton. Those are similar to run plays conceptually on what they're trying to do to get lead blockers in front, get the ball to them at the line of scrimmage, and take off. So just because it's not turn around and hand it off 30 times, I'm not freaking out because of that on a Tuesday morning. They ran it well enough to set up their stuff. That's my point.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to go back to the roughing the passer call real quick.
Yeah.
Or lack of, at least the one last night, because I think it's general to a whole discussion. You're on the field, right? And a lot of us don't have that privilege of being on the field and seeing. I know you're not obviously playing, but you're close enough. can you kind of just tell us from your time of watching it how difficult it has to be just seeing the speed of the game that these guys now have to think and process? Because this is why they're calling it, because in the rule book, I'd have to fall on the side of a player. And you've seen that these guys are quicker, faster, stronger, and all that. So being on the field and seeing that speed, just how can just kind of like frame it for us how difficult it has to be?
It's very difficult. It's a great point that you make. And this is the reason why it eludes, kind word, Jerome Boger, apparently, on a regular basis. By the way, he had a horrible roughing the passer call on Vita Vea earlier in the game because he was doing like a JP chest bump of the peeps up in the 300 level of a Lightning game, like will be going on next week. Whenever you're chest bumping after a goal, that's what he did to Mariota, and Mariota fell over, and that was a flag from Jerome Boger. And by the way, in the second period, he had another flag for roughing Tom Brady, either he or the umpire, and they picked it up. Remember? And Brady wasn't even splatted on that play. And then you look at a Vita, and I know the Falcon fans are pointing this out. There's a Vita Vea sack of Marcus Mariota where he spun him around and threw him down. So they're looking for a couple of things that are noteworthy. Number one, did you wrap him up and drive him into the ground and fall on him? Now going back to the Chris Davis play Monday Night Football, horrible. So now the Grady Jarrett play is only the worst call in the history of the NFL for 24 hours. Because the Chris Davis thing is a fumble in a game that the Chiefs are losing, a total momentum changer, and they are oblivious that the ball is out, and they're penalizing him for falling on Carr as roughing the passer while recovering the fumble. It's even worse. It's not at the end of the game, but it's even worse. So your point is good, Nick, on when they sling them down or when they fall on them and it's real speed, it's tough on a referee, and maybe they're making them judge too much without having the replay booth there to be able to overrule on like helmet to helmet or roughing the passer. And maybe they've got to implement that. There are some calls right now around the NFL from different voices that you should have replay come in on, is that actual roughing or is that actually targeting? College football, as you guys know, have been ahead of this for the better part of about 10 years on reviewing targeting. Is it truly targeting or not? And the NFL hasn't come around to that really yet, and maybe they got to add roughing the passer.
Well, I seem to be able to very easily determine a difference between what Grady Jarrett did to Tom Brady and what, I forget who did it to Tua. What happened to Tua? Tua was slung around and slammed onto the ground. You saw his head bounce off. Grady just kind of rolled
with no
over.
call, by the way. Importantly, with no call, no roughing the passer call. Keep going.
Where Grady just kind of was coming from the side, grabbed him, and kind of rolled over. And Tom's head didn't even hit it was the least violent thing I've ever seen down the ground. And then the flag comes out. And it's just no rhyme reason to any of it. I'm sure Jerome Boger is saying, well, they said if you spin him around, it's a penalty. Well, yeah, okay, he spun him around, but he didn't slam him down. It's to me, it's like night and day. I can see it. Okay, that was unnecessary. That clearly wasn't. So Vita Vea was running forward. The pass was thrown. He's a 350-pound man. He can't matrixly stop right there when Mariota's right there. There's going to be some contact. That's not a foul. That was not something that's injurious of the quarterback. I mean, this is like day me. You can see it when people are trying to hurt people and when they're not. And this is why the problem I have with the officials. Most of them are attorneys, and that's how they officiate the game. They are. I swear, it's like, oh, it says right here, a swinging down, or that was definitely a swing, so that's a pass. No, it's the spirit of the game. Did he try to hurt him or did he not? He didn't. It's not a foul.
And Nick, to your point, just so you understand where I was, I'm on the right TV right of the Buccaneers sideline looking back at the play because the Buccaneers are coming at us towards midfield. And so I'm anticipating, can they make a first down at midfield? We have a better view. So when I looked at the play from 30 or 40 yards kind of off the bench looking at the play, I wasn't sure if Grady Jarrett had stepped on him or not. And I'm asking asking people off the air, my Buccaneer boss, Jeff Ryan, who you know, JP, and I'm asking, I said, did he step on him? Because we don't get a replay on the video board. And again, I don't see the same game you guys do with the TV replays and the slow-mo. I thought he had maybe stepped on him. And then it became clear to me a few seconds later, they said, no, he did not step on him. So I'm standing back going, okay, yeah, they're going to be upset about that. So there you go to put a bow on how fast it moves on the field.
TJ Rives joining us here. All right, so I know my partner here thinks that Brady's arm is hurt, his shoulder's hurt, and his ring finger's hurt. I don't see it. I think it might be a little injured, but I didn't see any loss of velocity. I mean, he did underthrow one of those deep balls, but that's typical when you're throwing a ball 50, 60 yards down the field. The throw he ripped to Evans on the left side there was literally 35 yards down the field, 30 yards down the field, and 10 yards. So it was, in fact, 40-yard rope that he threw. So I think he's fine. What did it look like from your vantage?
So, I mean, obviously you saw him kind of touch the shoulder a couple times. He's very good at handling, at hiding some things and concealing some things. He was looking at his hand a couple of times. We observed that. But I'm with you. There was enough velocity. Did we see him really air it out, 40, 50 yards to test that shoulder? Not really. And they're not going to get a bye week until late November, as you guys know. So he's going to have to play through, get the treatment and play through. And we'll see. But it was not noticeable lack of zip on the ball at field level, to answer your question. No.
Yeah. I see that either. All right. Do you have any concerns about this Bucs offensive line at this point? I do. Not
overall, no. They're still a work in progress. I mean, again, we cannot stress enough, and I can be accused of being slanted, biased, whatever. Fine. Come at me, bro. Let's spew facts. Robert Hainsey was playing his 5th game at center ever. Luke Gedicke's next to him as a rookie playing his 5th game at left guard ever. They're getting used to it. And so there are teams taking advantage of them getting used to it. It's not Ryan Jensen and Ali Marpet. It's not the same for what you have had. So you're working through it. They were able to run some effectively. They were able to protect Tom Brady for the most part. So I am not ultra concerned right now. And we talked about this on your show. I'm going to keep saying this. They're playing softer defensive teams over these 3 games, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Carolina, where you're going to be able to do some things and to grow with it and to get better offensively. Let's hope that continues. They were certainly better offensively in this Falcon game right away. Not so much in the first quarter, but really in the second quarter, putting points on the board. And it's got to be quicker against Pittsburgh, that is reeling, because, I mean, the Bills put a sledgehammer on them in the first quarter and they never recovered. Now, that was at Buffalo. Yeah. So if you're able to put a big play or two on them right away, they're going to do the Chicken Little thing. The sky is falling. Here we go again. And let's see if that happens Sunday in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think we're going to get Kenny Pickett, right? I think he's going to start. And, there's no reason the Bucs shouldn't beat this team, but it's a Mike Tomlin coach team. They just got their ass handed to them. They're going to be back home. Here comes Tom Brady.
When was the last time he lost 4 in a row? They've lost 4 in a row. Almost never. Maybe never. So you're right.
Listen, I don't know why I think this is going to happen, but I just think the Steelers are going to be scrappy and they're going to give the Bucs a handful. Why? I can't make
probably. But so you got to be on your game. Right? You got to be on your game. Don't turn it over. Don't help them. Pickett, by the way, has thrown interceptions in the first 2 games. Get some takeaways going on him. And again, Brady's had a lot of success against Pittsburgh with the New England Patriots. So rely on TB12, and TB12 we trust. I mean, he spread the ball around to the receivers. Evans and Godwin make a huge difference, not only in terms of their productivity, but opening things up for other guys, whether it's Gage or Miller or Cade Otton, etc. Mm-hmm. So, and the backs out of the backfield, because you have Evans and Godwin taking up 2 or 3 or 4 defenders on these different plays, or else they're open. So you got a good win off the Atlanta win. Now build on it. Start stacking them. Build on it with a win against Pittsburgh and move on.
What do you got Saturday night? Permani Brothers and a Lightning Pens game, and then Sunday football.
Okay, wait. I am in so many. I'm in so many worlds, and I'm so far behind. I do not know this. You're breaking news to me. The Lightning are in Pittsburgh Saturday night.
Saturday or
okay, Saturday. If you say so, I'm believing you. I know
Saturday
I've got
Friday night. Let me check.
Okay, well, whichever. We're not there Friday night, so that does me no good. But Permani Brothers, excellent. Lots of peppers and cheese on the Permani Brothers whenever you go and get it.
So good. Right?
Oh, yeah. And I went to the original Saturday one, by the way.
What's that?
Saturday night downtown, right?
Saturday night downtown, 7 o'clock puck.
So the boys are there. The boys are there. All right. So we'll have to check that out as well. And we got some boxing. We got the Deontay Wilder pay-per-view Saturday night as well. Oh, we got college football everywhere Saturday.
SU Clemson Saturday, my friend.
Alabama, Tennessee in the afternoon. And I just worked the crazy Alabama, Texas A&M finish. And I know Roddy Night Train Lane was strutting around in that press box because he's a Tennessee Volunteer after what they did to LSU. We'll see if the train is still smiling from Buccaneers radio and longtime media personality, radio personality in this market for this game with Alabama. That's in Knoxville too. And will Bryce Young, speaking of the injured shoulder, will Bryce Young be able to play? Because Alabama, you talk about a team that was on the verge of losing. That's a team that had 4 turnovers, missed 2 field goals in the second half, 1 in the fourth quarter, and let Texas A&M drive all the way down to the 2-yard line. Brother JP, that's on the verge of losing the game. If the Falcons don't have the ball to end the game, the Bucs are not on the verge of losing the game. I'm just trying to help.
Hey, the one team you mentioned that's not playing is our Rays. What happened? What happened to our Rays, TJ? I mean, did you?
Well, you lamented the lack of offense last week on the show, JP, and you were right. How in the world do you play 15 innings of a playoff game and not get a run? And it was both teams, but wow. So offensively, it definitely petered out. It petered out, obviously, at the end in the regular season. And what happened was not shocking that they could not get hits and could not score runs, but it was magnified in an extra inning rock fight death match. Who's gonna hit each other with the soft feathery pillow the most to end up winning a game that's scoreless into the 15th inning of a playoff game. So a disappointing end. And I know the argument can be made if they have not expanded the wild card, it would not have been a playoff season. It was a good season, but the argument can be made you're letting teams in. Of course, you let the Phillies in as the 3rd wild card team, and they beat the Cardinals in 2 straight games. So
all the
what baseball wants,
except the Rays.
Correct. You have the Mets who won 101 games but didn't win the division, and San Diego beats them.
Yeah.
In New York. How about that? Welcome to the baseball playoffs. Welcome to the postseason. There you go, babe.
Who you got this week? And you doing any college football?
No college. I'll be with the Bucs in Pittsburgh. I will be back for Alabama, Mississippi State the following Saturday. Back in Tuscaloosa with the Pirate, with the mad scientist Mike Leach in Mississippi State. So we'll do that one. Next 2 weeks from now, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So let's see what the Bucs do in the Steel City. The last time we were there 8 years ago, it was Mike Glennon to the late Vincent Jackson for the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds. Wow. And that was a happy locker room, by the way, for Lovie Smith and crew and post-game show. Let's hope it doesn't end as dramatically, that the Bucs can relax a little bit at the end, but win again, and I get another happy locker room in the Steel City. We'll see.
When I was there last, I covered the great Bruce Gradkowski starting in his hometown there in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Went to a big pregame bash with his family right across from the stadium. And those Pittsburgh people are just the most awesome people in the world. And Gradkowski playing in Pittsburgh, that was a really cool deal. Bucs got their ass handed to them.
Yes, they did.
That was a cool story. All right, my friend. We'll be listening to your podcast, Nothing But Bucs. And
thank you.
Follow me on Twitter at Bucs Sideline Guy.
Yes, and always love being with you. You guys be well. Anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
You're the best. All right, we will take our final break, and when we come back, we will delve into a couple other stories, some college football stuff, some other NFL stuff, and what other stuff we want to talk about. We are brought to you by BAMMC.com in our second hour, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo and his team over there will take great care of you. If you're looking to lose some weight, testosterone replacement therapy, that is the place to go, BAMMC.com. And the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott G's is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We wrap it up here on a Tuesday. To by BMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Dr. Lugo and his team over there. If you're in need of some testosterone replacement therapy, and you might be, a recent study showed that 10% per decade, so 1% a year, you're losing your testosterone levels. So that's if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, you can do the math there, folks. Your levels are probably really, really low, and you need to get them boosted. So don't go to some fly-by-night clinic. They don't know what they're doing. Go to somebody who has been studying this and doing this for a long, long time. That's Chris Lugo and Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. And the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. We're going to give away 4 tickets to the Florida-Georgia game. When is that? That's not this week, is it? No, it's next week. 2 weeks away. Who do they got this week? I'm trying to remember. They had LSU, I think. Talking out of turn here.
No, I'm trying to find the schedule here. 29th, October 29th is the game.
Yeah, so we got a ways to go. So we got a couple weeks. So we'll come up with some great contests so you Florida Gator fans can show your pride in your team. And suddenly that game looks a little bit more winnable because Georgia is not the world beater that we once thought they were. Very, very good football team, but not, I thought they were going to run through the season beating everybody 45-3.
Yeah, Florida. By the way, Florida's got LSU this week. Tom Petty night.
That's right.
I tell you what, I'm
I'm
trying to get to a Florida game this year only because I just love the atmosphere.
It's such a great.
And I think this weekend might be.
Scott
Scott
Carter told us it's going to be Tom Petty. It's a night game, right?
A night game at the
LSU.
Swamp. Tom Petty, the atmosphere. It's going to be pretty good. But Georgia's got a bye week going into that Florida game, so they're going to have an advantage. And they have Vanderbilt this week, so
let's go a couple of bye weeks for them. This is an interesting story that just popped up on the Times. The Clearwater, I guess I don't know if Clearwater's spending this money or whatnot, but they're going to upgrade the Phillies facility in Clearwater, and the potential cost is $300 million. What? So, and they're going to not just build fields, but a complete training complex. And my guess is this is going to be much more than just a baseball complex. Phillies principal owner John Middleton, reading from the piece in the Times right now. and President of Baseball Ops David Dombrowski gave a presentation on the plan to Jennings, Mayor Frank Hibbert, and Pinellas County Administrator Barry Burton during the team's annual reception weekend of Clearwater, September 9th and 10th. Hibbert confirmed the $300 million estimate, but warned that the proposal had not yet gone through a process known as value engineering to decrease costs. So are they talking about Clearwater spending $300 million? The largest share of public funds would likely come from the county's bed tax, which city officials say they plan to request. So we're going to spend $300 million. Pinellas is going to spend $300 million to do a facility for the Phillies, and we still don't have a resolution for using bed tax money for the Rays?
We don't even have anything on the Rays right now. I feel like we're as dead as ever at the moment.
This first thing that hits me with this is like, here's a forward-thinking organization that wants to invest in a Tampa Bay area, knowing that they can probably they could put up an entertainment district around it, like Phillies land. So there'll be spring training games there and constant things going on there to lure snowbirds down here and be extremely successful, probably put up some condos and do other things in a public-private partnership involving baseball and their entire what a unbelievably smart idea that is, because they have an ownership group that invests in it and is smart enough to know that they have great property here in the burgeoning area, and they can combine baseball and their great real estate holdings here and a local government and have a successful development. Our idiot owner can't figure that out, either in St. Petersburg or in Tampa. I mean, it's just all there on a platter for him, and he still doesn't want to do it.
It's upsetting as a fan going to another off season of this nonstop talk again. Yeah. It doesn't need to be this way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need to be this way. But it's just such an easy thing. And I'm really going to, I said at the beginning of the show, and I think it's definitely worth doing. I'm going to talk to my peeps in Atlanta and see if we can set this up, because we'd like to go up there and do a couple broadcasts maybe from the Battery. And we'll take our camera up there. We'll tour the stadium and show you everything that we should have here in Tampa Bay and how it's working up there in Atlanta. The template was tremendous for Cobb County. You saw these stories about, it's going to be a big loser for Cobb County. No, it hasn't. It's been a tremendous boon for the tax base there, for the schools there. They are killing it in the Battery. And we could do the same thing here in Ybor City, if not for the narrow-mindedness. And I think at this point, frankly, I think Stu Sternberger is so pissed off at everybody that he hasn't gotten his way, that he's even more of an impediment to getting it done now. And it's even more, I think, absolutely urgent that Rob Manfred get rid of him. He doesn't want to do it here. He doesn't want to, and he doesn't have the local support to do it. You get a new ownership who has a new vision for this team and doesn't have all this history with the fans, and start anew and do something great here with Tampa Bay. Keep the baseball operations the way they are. Just get new ownership. This is not a hard thing to do. And this deal would get done overnight with new ownership.
You know what I'm pissed about?
You're pissed at the fan base. So
I'm pissed at a lot of things for this team. I'm pissed at the front office and the ownership for this team. And I really don't want to criticize the front office, because they can only do so much.
Right.
I'm pissed at whoever is pulling these strings to where we can't spend money and we can't get a team that I can have confidence in when we get to the postseason. It's not the players' fault. I mean, they are what they are. We know what they are. They all regress to their means at the end of the season. Okay, so that's one. And if Stu's going to leave with this team, he could take some of the fan base with him, because I've had it with some of these people in this fan base that are just absolutely just brainwashed and just don't understand what it's going to take to win a World Series. Because that's my bar. Y'all can live in fantasy land and make your wild cards all you want and even win 100 games, but you're not winning a World Series the way you're currently constructed. I don't care what you do. Everybody's talking about these 19 players that are arbitration, and we're going to sign this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. We're going to be fine. We're going to trade Choi, and Paredes is going to slot over at first base. This is what people are actually saying. It doesn't matter. The Rays can just put Paredes at first baseman. He's not a first baseman. We don't have there's not a first baseman on the roster.
How about you go trade for a first baseman,
sign a first baseman? Anybody.
Nobody's coming here as a free agent.
You got to trade for a first baseman. If you're serious, I see everybody floating the Jose Abreu around. Go get him then.
Yeah.
Go get him then. He hits
Use
over,
your
he
prospects,
hits over
your
300, he
AAA
drives and runs.
championship Durham team to go get him.
Maximize your window, because your window, I mean, I know everybody's saying, 2023, 20. I don't know what the window is. All I know is I saw a World Series team 2 years ago. I saw a 100-win team last year, and I saw a team this year that won 85 games and looked like that when they got into the playoffs.
As I predicted.
So, again, some people in this fan base need to wake up and understand that I don't need Mike Zunino back. Okay, stop telling me we need to re-sign Zunino. Stop telling me we need to re-sign all these players that were awful in the playoffs. I mean, stop telling me that Brandon Lau would have made a difference. He's awful in the playoffs every time we get there. Just you need to understand you got to spend money.
Yeah.
Stop telling me we got to go find diamond in the roughs. We have enough diamond in the roughs, and you could still do that. But tell me
augmented with proven hitters. Yes.
And this is what bothers me. We keep bringing up the Braves because I think they're a great example. They lock up their players long-term right away.
Yep.
When they have a star, right away lock them up, right? But they augment that, like you said, with signing players and bringing veterans in and having this lineup and this roster and this atmosphere that breeds winning. They're about to be on a dynasty.
Yep.
The Rays don't do that.
Nope.
They don't do that.
Nope.
So right now, I'm just fed up with the ownership at the moment. I'm coming back to that train.
It all starts,
and I'm coming back to some of these fans who need to get to reality.
Yeah, the fact that they're looking at spending $300 million in Clearwater for the Phillies, and that's because the Phillies want to work with them in a private-public partnership, and they'll negotiate with them in good faith, and it works for everybody. When you have an owner that negotiates in bad faith and lies and schemes and with his partners and the government entities, you can't trust the guy, obviously. So that's the problem. And the way and Manfred can sit here and bitch about Tampa and St. Petersburg. The problem is Major League Baseball not getting rid of Stu Sternberg. That's the problem. And if that doesn't happen soon, I don't know where this thing goes. And people want to say they're going to move. Well, the other owners have to agree for them to move. And I don't see them doing him any favors. I don't. All right, our thanks to our media legends today that we had on. Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report, Erik Erlendsson, and TJ Rives. All great stuff. Lightning open tonight, so we'll have more on that tomorrow, and with all our great coverage there. So we'll be back here live again tomorrow, 10 to 12, each and every day, 2 hours, all Tampa Bay-centric sports talk. Tell all your friends, retweet it, and go Bolts.